Prabhupada book distribution ki, Srila Prabhupada Prasadam distribution ki, Nitai Gaura Premanande, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Morning everybody. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 33, Text number 7. Chapter title, Activities of Kapila. Aho batasva pachato gariyan yajjiva grevartate namatubhyam te pustapaste juhuva shasnurarya Brahmanuchurnam gnatiyate. Aho batasva pachato gariyan yajjiva grevartate namatubhyam te pustapaste juhuva sasnurarya Brahmanuchurnam gnatiyate. Aho batasva pachato gariyan yajjiva grevartate namatubhyam te pustapaste juhuva sasnurarya Brahmanuchurnam gnatiyate. Aho batasva pachato gariyan yajjiva grevartate namatubhyam te pustapaste juhuvu sasnurarya Brahmanuchurnam gnatiyate. Aho batasva pachato gariyan yajjiva grevartate namatubhyam Namaste juhu sasnuraya Brahmanuchurnam gnatiyate. Aho batasva pachato gariyan yajjiva grevartate namatubhyam te pustapaste juhu sasnurarya Brahmanuchurnam gnatiyate. What word meaning? Aho bata. Oh, how glorious! Swapachaha, a dog eater. Atha, hence. Gariyan, worshipable. Yet, of whom? Jiva agre, on the tip of the tongue. Vartate, is. Nama, the holy name. Tubhyam, unto you. Teputapaha, practiced austerities. Te, they. Juhuva, executed fire sacrifices. Sashnu, took bath in the sacred rivers. Aryaha, Aryans. Brahma Anuchuha, studied the Vedas. Nama, the holy name. Grinanti, accept. Ye, they who. Te, your. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Oh, how glorious are they whose tongues are chanting your holy name. Even if born in the families of dog eaters, such persons are worshipable. Persons who chant the holy name of your Lordship must have executed all kinds of austerities and fire sacrifices and achieved all good manners of pilgrimage, studied the Vedas and fulfilled everything required. Purport. So it's a long purport. As it is stated in the previous verse, a person who has once offenselessly chanted the holy name of God becomes immediately eligible to perform Vedic sacrifices. One should not be astonished by the statement of Srimad Bhagavatam. One should not disbelieve or think how by chanting the holy name of the Lord can one become a holy man to be compared to the most elevated Brahmana. To eradicate such doubts in the minds of unbelievers, this verse affirms that the stage of chanting of the holy name of the Lord is not sudden, but that the chanters have already performed all kinds of Vedic rituals and sacrifices. It is not very astounding, for no one in this life can chant the holy name of the Lord unless he has passed all lower stages, such as performing the Vedic ritualistic sacrifices, studying the Vedas, and practicing good behavior like that of the Aryans. All this must have been done. Just as a student in a law class is to be understood to have already graduated from general education, anyone who is engaged in the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, must have already passed all lower stages. It is said that those who simply chant the holy name of the Lord with the tip of the tongue are glorious. One who does not even have to chant the holy name and understand the whole procedure, namely the offensive stage, offenseless stage, and the pure stage, if the holy name is sounded on the tip of the tongue, that is also sufficient. It is said that herein that Nama, a singular number, one name, Krishna or Rama, is sufficient. It is not that one has to chant all the holy names of the Lord. The holy names of the Lord are innumerable, and one does not have to chant all the names to prove that he has already undergone all the process of Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. If one chants once only, it is to be understood that he has already passed all the examinations. Not to speak of those who are chanting always 24 hours a day, it is specifically said that here, Tubhyam, unto you only, one must chant God's name, not as Mayavadi philosophers say, any name, such as demigod's name or names of God's energies. Only the holy name of the Supreme Lord will be effective. Anyone who compares the holy name of the Supreme Lord to the names of demigods is called Pashanti, or an offender. The holy name of the Lord has to be chanted to please the Supreme Lord and not for any sense gratification or professional purpose. If this pure mentality is there, then even though a person is born of a lower family such as dog eaters, he is so glorious that not only has he purified himself, but he is quite competent to deliver others. He is competent to speak on the importance of transcendental name, just as Haridas Thakur did. He was apparently born in a family of Mohammedans, but because he was chanting the holy name of the Supreme Lord offenselessly, Lord Chaitanya empowered him to become the authority or Acharya of spreading the name. It did not matter that he was born in a family which was not following the Vedic rules and regulations. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Advaita Prabhu accepted him as an authority because he was offenselessly chanting the name of the Lord. Authorities like Advaita Prabhu and Lord Chaitanya immediately accepted that he had already performed all kinds of austerities, studied the Vedas, and performed all sacrifices. That is automatically understood. There is a hereditary class of Brahmanas called Smartha Brahmanas, however, who are of the opinion that even if such persons who are chanting the holy name of the Lord are accepted as purified, they still have to perform the Vedic rites or await their next birth in a family of Brahmanas so that they can perform Vedic rituals. But actually that is not the case. Such a man does not need to wait for the next birth to become purified. He is at once purified. It is understood that he has already performed all sort of rites. It is the so-called Brahmanas who actually have to undergo different kinds of austerities before reaching that point of purification. There are many other Vedic performances which are not described here. All such Vedic rituals have been already performed by the chanters of the holy name. Yeah, so it's a long purport. Om Ajnanatimandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, good morning everybody. So, previous verse and this verse, we are talking about the glories of the holy name and the people who are chanting the holy name. So, reading the translation again. Oh, how glorious are they whose tongues are chanting a holy name. Even if born in the families of dog eaters, such persons are worshipable. Persons who chant the holy name of your Lordship must have executed all kinds of austerities and fire sacrifices and achieved all the good manners of the Aryans. To be chanting the holy name of your Lordship, they must have bathed at holy places of pilgrimage, studied the Vedas, and fulfilled everything that is required. So, initially on the first few lines of the purport, Prabhupada says that once offenselessly chanted the holy name of the God becomes immediately eligible to perform all Vedic sacrifices. So most of them are having the misconception that all the Vedic sacrifices shall be performed only by Brahmanas. So but Prabhupada says here that one who offenselessly chanted the holy name becomes immediately eligible to perform Vedic sacrifices. So among many such Brahmanas, one who is a devotee of Lord Vishnu is the best. So this is stated by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. So where does Krishna states this in Bhagavad Gita? So people who are devotees of Lord Vishnu, they obtain the Brahminical qualities automatically. So Krishna says that in Bhagavad Gita chapter 18 text 42. Samodamas tapasaucham shantir arjavam evacha jnanam vijnanam astikyam brahma karma svabhavajam. So he says peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, wisdom, knowledge and religiousness. These are the qualities by which the Brahmanas work. So once we are surrendered to the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu, so all these Brahmanical qualities comes as byproduct. So in many places Srila Prabhupada says that this Krishna consciousness movement is exclusively for one to cultivate Brahmanical qualities, and that's what the center is established for, and many other centers across the world are established for. So and also Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 8.128, it does not matter whether a person is a Vipra, learned scholar in Vedic wisdom, or is born in a lower family, or is in the renounced order of life, if he is a master in the science of Krishna, he is perfect and a bona fide spiritual master. So, not only being a devotee leads one to an elevated stage of your varna, being a brahmana, also, if the science of Krishna consciousness is perfectly understood, then one can even deliver others from their sinful reaction and be a spiritual master. So that is the message here. So to eradicate such doubts in the mind of unbelievers, this verse affirms that the stage of chanting the name of the Lord is not sudden, but the chanters have already performed all the Vedic sacrifices. So Prabhupada says here, the chanters have already performed all kinds of Vedic rituals and sacrifices. So what we need to understand here is people don't come to ISKCON by accident. Srila Prabhupada has said this in many places. So there are like 9 steps in your devotional service, right? Like Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivritti, Nishtha. So until it leads to Prema. So even before that, we have a stage called Ajnata Shukriti. So that is nothing but devotional service performed by accident or without knowledge. So more than the modern philosophy, what we can explain from a Vedic standpoint is how devotional service occurs by chance. The modern philosophy cannot clearly explain how devotional service occurs by chance, but we can explain with the concept of Ajnata Shukriti, where we perform devotional service without proper attention, that can lead to sadhu sangha, or that can lead to association of saintly devotees. So that is what we need to understand here. So Prabhupada also says that it is not very astounding for one in this life can chant the holy name of the Lord unless he has passed all lower stages, such as performing Vedic ritualistic sacrifices, studying the Vedas, and practicing good behavior like that of the Aryans. So Prabhupada quotes Aryans in many places, in many of the room conversations, in many of the lectures or in the letters. So Aryans are people who are considered to have Brahminical qualities. Anybody who has obtained Brahminical qualities are considered to be Aryans. So if you see from a Vedic standpoint, when Parshuram was killing all the Kshatriyas, at one point of time, as they committed, Kshatriyas who does not follow the Vedic principles properly, who were breaking at least one of the legs of Dharma, so they offended Parshuram's father, a sage, and then Parshuram got really furious and he started killing 21 generations of Kshatriyas. At that point in time, most of the Kshatriya Brahmanas, who were actually Aryans, who were supposed to be in the perfectional stage of the Kshatriya Varna or the Kshatriya Ashrama, so what they did, they started fleeing to different parts of the world. So they carried the Vedic remnants to different parts of the world, and from there, different religions actually evolved. So this is what we can infer from what Prabhupada says. So all the Vedic remnants, like even Krishna says in Gita, that he would reveal himself according to the endeavor that one performs. So people who did not actually perform the Vedic rituals perfectly, they took the Vedic remnants to different parts of the world, and according to their conception, they derived different religions. So that's the key understanding which we can take away from how different religions actually came into existence in the first place. So Prabhupada also says the chanters have already performed all kinds of Vedic rituals and sacrifice, and no one in this life can chant the holy name of the Lord unless he has passed all stages. And he also gives just a student in law classes to be understood to have already graduated from general education, anyone who is engaged in chanting of the holy name of the Lord. So, Ajnana Shukriti. So, what is this Ajnata Shukriti, right? So, one might naturally be, say for example, when you have a child, you'll naturally be kind to your child, right? And then after the child grows up, the child may or may not reciprocate his or her love. So, if he reciprocates his love, then you are considered to be really, really fortunate. So, similarly, Krishna is infinitely merciful. Even if you perform a tinge of devotional service without proper attention or without proper knowledge, he is bound to give you that Sukriti now or in this lifetime or in the next lifetime. So that is Agyata Shukriti. So we cannot say that bhakti is always starting from zero. Any type of small devotional service that we perform, even without knowledge, that's Agyata Shukriti. So some examples which Prabhupada gives is his meeting with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Prabhupada says that is some Agyata Shukriti in this lifetime or from previous lifetime because I was able to meet my spiritual master. And Prabhupada says in many places that children, we must always encourage children to come to the temple, sing and dance, even if they don't understand, even if they found it like really as a cultural activity, it does not really matter. That Agyata Shukriti which is accumulated, it will definitely help them at some point in time. So for example, we have doctors giving us medicine, right? So even if we take the medicine without knowing actually what it does to us, we are just taking the medicine because the doctor is prescribing us. So similarly, the potency of that medicine does not degrade whether or not you know the meaning or the complete details of what that medicine does to your body. Similarly, the potency of the holy name is so beneficial that it will help the children in shaping up their character sometime in this lifetime or sometime in the next lifetime. It will give them the association of pure devotees. So only pure devotees or association with saintly people can give you the seed of devotional service. So that is very important, and Prabhupada says this in many places. So people who have that love for Krishna, they can only give that love for Krishna. Krishna cannot give love for himself by himself. We cannot get Krishna's mercy directly. It always comes through sadhu sangha. So similarly, if we see anybody who has helped Prabhupada in his movement during his age by printing books or by giving prasadam or by giving donations. So Prabhupada gave opportunity to most of the people in the movement who wanted to be part of the movement or not, or who wanted just to be as like life members. Prabhupada was giving away Agyata Shukriti just like that to everybody, so that at least now or in the future they will be led to saintly devotees who can guide them in the process of devotional service. So we need to understand that Krishna's kindness is so pervasive that even if we perform little bit of devotional service, Krishna is obliged to give us some sort of Sukriti. So he is Ajita, he cannot be conquered, but only by doing a little bit of devotional service, he becomes conquered by love. Even if it is unintentional, he has to give some Sukriti to us, and he is obliged to do that. So that's the same thing which we establish in our movement as well, right? Through the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. So whenever we go on book distribution, we are distributing the Agyata Sukriti for people. Whenever we go on Harinam, whenever we chant, so whenever people hear all those holy names, even without attention, or even if they recite the holy name even jokingly, doesn't matter, because in Chaitanya Charitamrita it says that one who chants the holy name of the Lord is immediately freed from reactions of unlimited sins, even if he chants it indirectly, jokingly, for musical instrument, or even neglectfully. This is accepted by all learned scholars. So similarly, as we said, even if during Harinam we make people recite the Maha Mantra, so they will get this Agyata Shukriti no matter what. Even in this lifetime or next lifetime, it will lead them to association of saintly devotees. So that is the understanding. So when Prabhupada says people who perform, the chanters who have already performed all kinds of Vedic rituals and sacrifices, and which means if anybody who is chanting the name even by the tip of his tongue, so we must not commit any aparadh. So we don't know who has given that Agyata Shukriti for him to chant that particular name or come in contact with devotees in that particular lifetime. So if we are technically judging people, then it is an aparadh. So that's what we need to understand. So this Agyata Shukriti has been given to them by some devotee, and we are arranged by Krishna to meet that person, to associate that person, and spread love for Krishna. So that is the proper understanding or the proper vision in which we must see all these things. So there is one story of Bhakti Rasamrita Maharaj. So he was going with a devotee in a car, and they stopped in a petrol pump, in a petrol station. So the devotee was filling the fuel. So in India, as you know, right, like we don't have like self-service. We have people to fill the fuel for us. So there was a person in the station. He was actually filling the fuel, and the devotee and Maharaj was sitting in the car, and the driver was sitting in the front. So what happened? Maharaj wanted to get down and do some stretching. So what he did was he got down from the car meanwhile the fuel was being filled, and he wanted to adjust his dhoti or kurta. So he took his bead bag and he gave it to the person in the fuel station. And the devotee in the car was sitting like, why is Maharaj doing that? He could have given it to me, and he was thinking that. Then once he adjusted it, he got the bead back, he said thanks, and then he came back and he sat in his car. So after that they were continuing in the car journey. So what the devotee asked Maharaj was, Maharaj, you could have given it to me, I'm here for your service. Then at that time Maharaj replied that, see, we all are already part of Krishna consciousness through Srila Prabhupada's mercy. So we don't know that person who's actually in the petrol pump, when he is going to take up bhakti or what is going to lead him to bhakti. So small things or the act which we do will actually help him accumulate this agyata shukriti. So that's what Maharaj said. So similarly, what we can understand another story of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dealing with Prakashananda Saraswati. So Prakashananda Saraswati was he was an amazing acharya, but he was not a direct promoter of Vaishnavism, but he had like 50,000, 60,000 disciples. He had the impersonal realization. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, he offered obeisances and he offered a seat to Mahaprabhu. So at that instance, what Prabhupada writes in Chaitanya Charitamrita is, Mahaprabhu accepted all the obeisances and he was giving Agyata Shakriti to Prakashananda Saraswati. So that is the importance of performing bhakti even without jokingly, or the kind of preaching that we do on the streets, on the book distribution, that contributes significantly to the spiritual growth of the other individuals. So we really need to be mindful and do each and every activity in Krishna consciousness really cautiously, so that we don't commit aparath or discriminate people who are chanting or not chanting properly, or who are chanting funnily. If the holy name comes out from their mouth, then we need to be really careful that they have some sukriti, or somebody has been given some sukriti through some other acharyas or devotees in this lifetime or in the previous lifetime. And it is also said that here in that nama, a singular number, one name, Krishna or Rama, is sufficient. So just by chanting one name, either Krishna or Rama, they need not even go through all the different stages of chanting. So there are 3 stages in chanting. So what are the stages like? First stage is Nama Prada, second stage is Nama Bhasha, and the third stage is Shuddhana. So in Nama Prada is the stage where we chant with offenses. So either it can be devotees or Mayavadis. So Mayavadis who chant with offenses, they are drawing their gaze to hell. And devotees who are chanting with offenses, it is because they have not established the right knowledge of Sambandha Gyan with Krishna. So what we can say that eventually they will be purified with the process of devotional service, sadhu sangha bhajana kriya, by hearing and chanting, and they will reach to the stage of Nama Bhasha. The stage of Nama Bhasha is chanting offenselessly. So there are 2 stages in Nama Bhasha as well. So one is chanting with faith, Shraddha, and the other one is chanting without faith, Ashraddha. So chanting with faith, so that can be pure faith, which will lead to Shuddhana, and then you can progress to a stage of Bhava, Prema, and then you can obtain Rasa. But this faith can be mixed with karma and jnana as well. So people whose namabhasha stage is mixed with karma or jnana, they also attain liberation. They attain the Vaikuntha planets. It is not pure bhakti, but bhakti mixed with a little bit of karma or jnana, and it is done as a service to Krishna. So the other stage, the Ashraddha stage in Namabhasha, so we have a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam 6.2.14. So the Ashraddha Namabhasha, there are like 4 stages. That's the one which I have read. So one who chants indirectly, Sanketyam, one who chants jokingly, Parihasam, one who chants for musical entertainment, and one who chants neglectfully, Stobam and Helena. So this is very important. So people who are chanting like this, there are chances that they may get impersonal liberation. So that's when, say for example, like, kind of when we wake up from the bed, when we stretch and our body is really, really tired, sometimes they say like, oh Krishna, I'm so tired today. So that actually gives you some spiritual credit. So similarly, people who are like, whenever they're playing mridanga, to test the mridanga, they say Gauranithaya or Krishna or Rama, or whenever like in childhood, what I used to do whenever I start testing a new pen, I will write like Sri Rama Jayam. So everything gives you spiritual credit. So even if you do it unconsciously, it does give spiritual credit. Or even if somebody chants the holy name jokingly, some of my friends, after I came to Krishna consciousness, I started following ISKCON and being part of the movement. And they jokingly say that they don't believe in God, and they jokingly say that, oh, you are now become Hare Krishna devotee and you're chanting every day. It does count because they have uttered that one single name, Krishna or Rama. So that will at least, if they have like not done so much of bad karma, even if they have not done accumulated so much of good karma, this type of Sukriti would give them some benefit, or they will at least take birth in this planet or in a human form or in a lower caste, where they will have option to actually go to the path of self-realization. So it's very, very important, right? Like, so when what Prabhupada says is someone who utters the holy name, even they don't have to know all these 3 stages. If they have association, they can still obtain perfection through the process. And thanks to Prabhupada, we have ISKCON only for that single purpose. A lot of times when people do Harinam, and they have said that I met this person in the temple and they came from Harinam. So they get dragged. So some people respond to these sound vibrations. So it's very interesting, right? Scientifically also speaking, your brain is tuned to respond to sound vibrations of specific frequency. And this is also there in some of the Greek or the Latin, like Greek mythologies, that they have different types of music for different purposes and for rewiring your brain chemistry. So there are different types of music that it increases your concentration. So even by hearing to these sound vibrations, some people get really, really dragged that their dormant Krishna consciousness can be awakened. So each and every time when we sing, we need to be really, really active, and we need to be mindful that this can actually really bring people to Krishna consciousness. So that's the actual consciousness with which we need to sing or do Harinams, or when we give the book distribution, we should have faith in Prabhupada. Prabhupada says book distribution is like incarnation of Srimati Radharani. So you can infer this from the last 4 verses of Nectar of Instructions. So Bhagavatam is as good as Srimati Radharani glorifying Krishna. So it's really, really interesting. If we go deep into the subject matter, we will have a lot of different understanding from different acharyas. So when Prabhupada says that just one name, Krishna or Rama, if we make somebody chant attentively or inattentively, that will give you as well the other person a lot of spiritual credit. So that is one key takeaway from this Prabhupada. And Prabhupada also says that we need to be really, really careful that we should not offend or commit any Vaishnava aparadh when somebody chants the holy name jokingly. We need to understand that they have performed all the Vedic rituals or sacrifices, because nobody comes to Krishna, nobody comes to ISKCON by chance, or it's not an accident. It is because it is all arranged by Krishna. That's the way we see it, and this verse is an exact proof. And if one chants once only, Prabhupada keeps repeating this again, if one chants once only, it is to be understood that he has passed all the examinations, not to speak of those who are chanting always, 24 hours a day. So how much ever deeply you read whatever books you want to read, like Bhagavatam or other Acharyas' commentaries, ultimately it all boils down to your quality of chanting and your quantity of chanting. So the Prabhu says that if you don't chant 16 rounds, there is no point in you doing kirtan at all. So that's one of the kind of importance that Prabhu stresses in chanting. So you can give bhakti only if you have bhakti. So if you are chanting and then if you're following the regulative principles, which means you are nurturing your bhakti lata bij. So only when that is nourished, that can be passed on to other devotees, like consciously. Even otherwise, Krishna is so merciful that even if you chant inattentively, there is still some sort of Agyata Shukriti. Right? So there are like 3 types of Agyata Shukriti which Prabhupada says in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and also Bhakti Vinod Thakur says in his Harinam Chintamani, first chapter. So the first type is Karnonmukhi, which means the Shukriti obtained by doing fruitive activities, and Prabhupada calls this as Bhogon Mukti. Bhogon Mukti. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And the second type of Agyata Shukriti is Jnana Unmukti or Moksha Unmukti. Prabhupada calls it as Moksha Unmukti. So Agyata Shukriti which will lead to liberation. And the third type of Agyata Shukriti is what we are interested in. And the second type is obtained by acquiring knowledge. The first type is obtained by doing fruitive activities, by performing sacrifices for your own benefits. And the third type of Agyata Shukriti, what we are interested is Bhakti Unmukhi. So that's what Prabhupada and Bhakti Vinod Thakur says. This type of Agyata Shukriti, by doing a bit of devotional service, somebody, by building this temple, we are giving Agyata Shukriti to many people who are actually not devotees. Whoever is contributing to the temple construction, they will get a lot of Agyata Shukriti. So this Bhakti Unmukhi is the Agyata Shukriti that will lead to some eternal benefits. People who perform some devotional service consciously or unconsciously. So now after that, after explaining about all of these people performing all Vedic rituals, Prabhupada talks about the pure mentality. So this is very, very important. The holy name has to be chanted to please the Supreme Lord and not for any sense gratification or professional purposes. So he again quotes in the purport, if this pure mentality is there, then even if a person who's born in a low family such as dog eaters is quite competent to deliver others. So he gives an example of Haridas Thakur, and he gives an example of Advaita Acharya being acknowledged by the Smarta Brahmanas. So Smarta Brahmanas, they believe that one has to be in a Brahmin family and perform all the rituals, and only then they will get moksha. So whenever they perform all these rituals very strictly, as per the ritual, they need to offer prasadam to a proper Paka Brahmana. So here it says that they invited Advaita Acharya for that during all those type of ritualistic performances. So they offered prasadam to Advaita Acharya. So Haridas Thakur was from a Mohammedan family. So Advaita Acharya, when he was chanting the holy name, Advaita Acharya, who's being a Praka Brahmana, accepted him as a Brahmana, then that he is qualified as a Namacharya for the holy name. So that's what we need to understand. What we can infer here is, doesn't matter what is your caste by birth, and Prabhupada says this in many instances. So your Varna and Ashrama by birth or by activities does not determine whether you are a proper devotee or not. Say, for example, people who are born in Brahminical family, if they have not obtained the Brahminical qualities correctly, then Prabhupada calls them as Brahmana Bandhus. So it's not necessary that you become a Brahmana. So that is just like a joke saying that I'm born in a Brahminical family. But if you have not gone through the process of obtaining Brahminical qualities, or if you have not been part of Krishna consciousness, so it makes no sense. And there are like many other instances, right? Like where Prabhupada says in Srimad Bhagavatam, one who cannot deliver his dependence from the path of repeated birth and that should never become a spiritual master, a father, a husband, a mother, or even a worshipable demigod. So the whole purpose of Varna and Ashrama, it's there only for bringing one to the point of self-realization. So that's the message which we need to understand from this. So it also says authorities like Advaita Prabhu and Lord Chaitanya immediately accepted that he had performed all kinds of austerities, studied the Vedas and performed all sacrifices. So when they initiated Haridas Thakur to be the Namacharya, this is the meaning. So we have lot of evidences in the scriptures as well. So this, I was discussing with my mom. We were talking about a Sri Vaishnava story. So this is from Kaishika Mahatmya. So it's Varaha Purana, the story from Varaha Purana where Lord Varaha talks to Bhumi Pirata or Bhuma Devi. So when this story is told by Lord Varaha to Bhuma Devi when Lord Varaha came for the second time to take the disposition earth from water and put it back in its original place in the orbit. So once he put back earth in the original place in the orbit, like Bhuma Devi was so stressed and she goes and asks Lord Varaha, like, what can be done for the people who are suffering in this particular planet? How can we actually deliver them? So that was the question posted, and then this story comes in Varaha Purana somewhere, and it's called as Kaishika Mahatmya. So the story goes on wherein like there was a Sri Vaishnava devotee named Nampaduvan. So he is a very, very sincere, pure devotee born in the family of dog eaters. So this clarifies the example that even though a person born in a low family such as dog eaters is so glorious that not only has purified himself but is quite competent to deliver others. So this story fits in as a perfect example here. So what happens is he is such a pure devotee in olden days. Like people born in a lower caste, they are not allowed to enter the temples. So there is every day he goes to temple and offer very sincere prayers. He recites a lot of shlokas, and he's such a sincere devotee that there is a Dvajastamba in front of the temple. In most of the Vishnu temple, we'll have a Dvajastamba. So what happened was he went and he was like pouring his heart out with all the prayers. And at that point in time, can I not see you? Can you not give me darshan? So even today, if you see at that instance, the Dvajastamba moved itself and then it gave the devotee darshan. So that's how Lord reciprocates. So even today, my mom says that the Dvajastamba is dispositioned in that particular temple, and that is the significance of him being a pure devotee. So continuing the story, so he was during one day he was going to the temple, he met a Brahma Rakshasa. So a Brahma Rakshasa are like demons basically. So he said to that Brahmana that I want to eat your body, your flesh, and drink your blood as my feast for today. So the Brahmana couldn't tell no. He gave the Brahma Rakshasa forced him, and he said that no, I have to go to the temple, and I'll go to the temple and then come back and then fulfill your desires. And the Brahma Rakshasa did not believe that. Then the Brahmana made so many promises And the Brahma Rakshasa did not accept any of the promises, but only one promise the Brahma Rakshasa accepted. He said that the second offense, considering the names of Lord demigods like Lord Brahma or Lord Shiva to be independent of the names of Lord Vishnu. So if that offense is committed, like it's a very serious offense if you don't understand the position of Vishnu or Krishna. So when the Brahma Rakshasa said that if you don't, like the Brahmana said that if I don't come back, which means then I am breaking this offense, then the Brahma Rakshasa was convinced. So he goes to the temple and he offers prayers. And this is a place called Tirukurungudi in South India. He goes to the temple, he offers the prayers, and he then comes back to fulfill, he goes into the forest to fulfill the Brahma Rakshasa desires. That what happened, one person comes in between when he was on the way to the forest. So that person is none other than Lord Vishnu himself. So Lord Vishnu comes in and tries to test his devotion or the purity. So he says, it's not necessary you have to fulfill, you can just go back home, I'll look after you. But the Brahman has given his word, he has made a promise. And he said that if I don't come back, it's as good as I'm committing this particular offense. So when Vishnu tried to test his purity, he was like, okay, I'm going to go back to the Rakshasa. Then that mysterious person whom he encountered, he just left. Then when he went to the Brahma Rakshasa, the Brahma Rakshasa's mind changed somehow. Looks like this mysterious person went and changed his mind. Lord Vishnu had changed his mind, and Brahma Rakshasa says that, no, I don't want to kill you. So basically, I want some credits of the pious activities that you have done. Then the Brahmana says, the devotee says, no ways. I cannot give you that. You wanted to take my life? You take. The Brahmana says that no, at least you need to tell me the songs that you sing. And the devotee says that no, impossible. Whatever songs I sing, it's in my blood. You can kill me and drink my blood, and then you get it. And then the Brahma Rakshasa confesses that no, I want some pious credit so that you can liberate me. So in the previous lifetime, so he was the Brahma Rakshasa, he was a Brahmana. He was performing Vedic sacrifices for invoking invoking some benefits from some of the demigods. So we need to be really careful, right? Like during that yajna, he has recited the names of the mantras incorrectly. He has recited the mantras incorrectly while performing yajna, and as a result, he took birth as a Brahma Rakshasa. So now only by the mercy of a pure devotee, he can be liberated. So what happened when he said this, and he said that I surrender at your lotus feet, can you please give me some pious credits and can you please liberate me? He literally begged the devotee. And though he was from a family of dog eaters or from a low caste, his devotion was so pure. So then he took one song which was sung in Kaishika Raga, that he used to glorify Lord Vishnu, and he gave that information to the Brahma Rakshasa, and immediately he got birth in Vaishnava family and he got liberated. So that is how, right, like, and the story continues when Lord Vishnu was explaining it to Bhumi Pirata. So the Bhuma Devi story continues, and it says that when Bhuma Devi asked this question, Lord Vishnu recited this story. So what we can understand from the story is two things. Just by singing the glories of the Lord. So the answer which Vishnu gave to Bhuma Devi was just by singing the glories of the Lord, one can be liberated from the cycle of birth and death. So that is the first message. And the second message which is related to this verse, both the messages can be related to this verse, that a person who was born in a low family, which can actually defeat the claims of the Smartha Brahmanas, who was such as even a dog-eater family, they can still deliver people. They can still be spiritual masters. This is what Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya says in many places in the purport. So this story is also a classic example, like Nama Sankirtan or anybody pure devotee giving mercy and liberating people. It's there in all authorized or bona fide sampradayas. So that's how we should understand. So again, going more deeper, Prabhupada talks about the second paragraph, a lot about spiritual masters, how one can deliver. And then, if you see the last before paragraph, Prabhupada says, the word Juhua means that the chanters of the holy name have already performed all kinds of sacrifices, and Shashnuva means that they have already traveled to all holy places of pilgrimage and taken part in the purificatory process. So we can relate this to, one of the verses in Laghu Bhagavatamrita. So I'll read that verse out. The act of donating millions of cows during solar eclipse, staying in Prayag for a kalpa, not for certain days, for one whole kalpa, offering countless sacrifices, or donating Mount Meru's worth gold in charity doesn't even compare to even 1/100th of the value of chanting. So that is the importance of chanting. So as in when we progress in our spiritual life, it is really, really important to measure and always increase our quality as well as quantity in chanting. And also, coming back and resonating with the holy name has to be chanted to please the Supreme Lord. So that is one story which I can, tell you all guys. This is from Mahabharata, where Yudhishthira Maharaj was performing the Rajasuya sacrifice, and then all the Brahmanas partake from the entire village. They partake in eating prasada. So there are different versions of the story during retelling. I heard different versions from different people. So usually what happens is a Brahmana will be all the people of a particular village or people who attended the sacrifice, they'll partake in the prasadam during the Rajasuya yajna. So after the yajna, as a sign of completion of the yajna, once the sacrifices are done, every Brahmana is fed. So Yudhishthira Maharaj asked Krishna to blow the conch, the Panchajanya. So what happens when Krishna blows the conch? It doesn't work. It's not working. So then Krishna understands that there was one Brahmana who did not partake in the prasadam. So then he says Yudhishthira to go and find that Brahmana. This is also a story where a pure devotee can be from the family of the dog eaters, which Prabhupada mentioned here. So there'll be group of dog eaters sitting there, identify that one person, but he is a Paka devotee, he is a proper Vaishnava, he is a Brahmana. So that person has not had prasadam. So then Yudhishthira Maharaj identifies, and then he goes and brings that person, and that person he feeds, and Draupadi makes special prasadam for that particular person, right? So here we are talking about the pure mentality. So this story is an example for that pure mentality. One should chant to please the Supreme Lord and not for any sense gratification or professional purposes. So when Draupadi prepares, she prepares like n number of items. She segregates it properly and she puts it on a plate and she gives it to that Brahmana. So what? And after the Brahmana eats the food, and then Krishna again tries to blow the conch. It doesn't work. So now the sacrifices are done, the Brahmana is fed, but still when Krishna blows the conch, it doesn't work. Then Draupadi says, yes, it is my mistake, I committed an offense mentally. So when she prepared all different varieties of foodstuffs and she offered, she put it in different cups in different places. When the Brahmana started eating, he mixed everything. And Draupadi was thinking like, I put in so much efforts to, segregate this and feed it. So, but then when this question was asked to the Brahmana, he said that, see, I cannot, this is prasadam served with love, and I didn't want to actually discriminate between, okay, this is more tasty, this is less tasty. And the Brahmana was so equipoised, he was a Paka Brahmana that he mixed everything and he started eating because he doesn't want to discriminate. So that's exactly what a pure devotee or as Vaishnavas, which we must be doing in our day-to-day life, whether someone is chanting offenselessly or someone is chanting jokingly. So this is an example for fitting inside, another example fitting inside this particular purport, where the pure mentality with which we offer a service is very, very important, and we should not discriminate any devotees whether they are chanting offenselessly or whether they are chanting jokingly. We should not be doing that. So there are a lot of examples from scriptures which we can learn. So, and again, coming back, Prabhupada says the word grinanti, which is used in this verse, means to be already established in perfectional stage of ritualistic performances. So, relating that to this purpose, if we are chanting, even at least on the Namabhasha stage, there are chances where one may get liberated, which is as good as perfectional stage of ritualistic performances. So that's what Prabhupada says here. And the most important message which we can again take from this purport is we should not be discriminating or we should not be criticizing other devotees. So everybody will be in their journey. So we are not supposed to, you don't know at what level that devotee is there. So certain actions, what they do might not be resonating well with us. So you always ask for clarity. You should not come out as you're correcting that particular devotee. So that is an important message to Vaishnava Prath. So we need to be really, really careful about that. So I think it's time. I'll stop here. Any questions?
Thanks for the class, Prabhu. I haven't attended the earlier part of
Yeah.
the class. I'm not sure if you've already covered it. Just reflecting on the translation and the extended purport of Srila Prabhupada. Um, as I can see, the fulfilled criteria of the people doing the japa, if I may quote, must have executed all kinds of austerities and fire sacrifices, must have bathed at holy places of pilgrimage, studied the Vedas, and fulfilled everything required. Such person understood that he has surpassed all the examinations. So I was actually just wondering, let's take an example of, say, a passerby during a Nagasankirtana. If he actually utters just once, does it mean that, these are some extremely high level criteria, it's being mentioned in the shloka and the purport, that they have surpassed all of them. So does it also apply for such a person? Just utters once.
Yes, yes, it's very much possible. So we can also take, that's what I was reading this, I was explaining the concept of Agyata Shukriti, right? So it says that in Srimad Bhagavatam 6.2.14, one who chants the holy name of the Lord is immediately freed from reactions of unlimited sins, even if he chants indirectly, Sanketyam, jokingly, Parihasyam, or for musical instrument, Stopam, or even neglectfully, Helena. So even if he chants once, when we go to Harinam, so even if they chant jokingly just because of music, they will get the Agyata Shukriti, indirect benefit from devotional service.
That's the after effect.
After effect.
I'm talking about the, even to get qualification, even before they chant, even when they actually come to say Harinam or just passing by, just uttering it. Yeah, I understand it.
So they can't come by chance, right? They would have obtained that Agyata Shukriti. So you can progress in devotional service only if that Bhakti Lata Beach was the seed has been given either in this lifetime or they have accumulated the Agyata Shukriti in previous lifetime. So another classic example is Ajamila. Ajamila chanted just one name offenselessly. All the sins were wiped out. And immediately he went to Haridwar. So these devotees who we are getting acquainted with, they don't come by chance. They have obtained that Agyata Shukriti from previous birth, from previous different other Vaishnavas. And that is why they are able to progress in the spiritual journey. So that's how, from a Vedic standpoint, we can explain that. They have not, nobody comes to ISKCON by accident. Nobody comes to ISKCON just by chance. That's what Prabhupada says. So we can explain this concept with Agyata Shukriti. So they would have obtained this spiritual credit from somewhere else. And that's why even if somebody chants the holy name, it's as good as performing all rituals or Vedic sacrifices, because you never know what they have done in the previous lifetime. You don't know at what stage they committed any offenses. So even if somebody chants, even from the tip of the tongue, even one single name, then we should treat them with the same respect. as how we treat a Brahmana. So that's the message. So that's why I was talking about Vaishnava Aparadh or criticizing Vaishnavas or criticizing people who are even chanting their holy name. So it is as good as performing all Vedic rituals, and we have to accept them as Brahmana. So that's why, like, being equipoised, I mentioned in another story, in the vision in which we need to see, that is the vision which we should. Right now we are operating at the level of mind and intelligence and not at the soul, but that is the level which we target to be in. So we need to aspire to be at that level, because that equipoised vision is what an Uttamadhikari or all the acharyas carry. Because if an acharya thinks that, that's what I was reading in another verse, right? If he cannot deliver anybody or spend time with anybody and help them come out of the cycle of birth and death, then Srimad Bhagavatam says he can't even be an acharya, or what say, leave an acharya, he can't even be like a father or a mother if they don't lead kids to the path of self-realization. There is no point of even being a father or a mother, is the message from Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is right now we all understand that we have shortcomings, we are not seeing in that vision, we are discriminating people, but eventually we need to be in a position where we can get there. And how we are going to get there is what this verse is saying: chant sincerely. Even at least on the Namabhasha stage, we need to chant without any offenses. Of course, we are nowhere near Shuddhanam. So what you are talking about, Prabhuji, here is, yes, if that person chants even one Shuddhanam, it's possible. So if you see works of what is Shuddhanam, you can see works of Bhakti-Vinod Thakur like Sri Harinam or Harinam Chintamani. It's completely on pure chanting, pure devotional service. So anything is possible by pure chanting. So we never know what type of Sukriti that person has. So anything is possible with Krishna's mercy. Did I answer your question? Any other question? So the question is, we cannot question the words of the Shastras and Srila Prabhupada that one who chants the holy name has already performed all sacrifices in the pilgrimages in the past. But can we allow ourselves to think like this, or will we not be proud of such thoughts? Because the piety of the people of the Western world was created by Srila Prabhupada. But can we allow ourselves to think like this, or will we not be proud of such thoughts? So Prabhu says we cannot question the words of the Shastras and Srila Prabhupada that one who chants has performed all the sacrifices. The first part of your question. So Prabhu is asking, can we allow ourselves to think like that? Can we think that, we have performed all the sacrifices and everything, or will we not be proud of such thoughts? So that's the question. So Prabhu, to answer that question, so what Prabhupada says in most of the places, that we need to always keep in mind that we are not a Brahmana, we are just devotees of the Lord. We have to consider ourselves in a position to be a servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. So, of course, anything is possible in Kali Yuga. So, the understanding which I have from Srila Prabhupada's lecture and purport is that we should never be proud of our position like we are a Brahmana, or we are a Kshatriya, or we are a Vaishya, or we are a Shudra. So, we should always consider ourselves to be in the position of Dasanudasa. So, that is the right understanding. So, there was one story where I think a devotee went to Radhanath Swami, and he says that, Prabhuji, this devotee is always kind of like arguing or questioning everything. So it's too, he's not showing Brahminical qualities. He's not showing being a proper Brahmana. So Maharaj replies to that, like, you cannot say that he is not a Brahmana. So you are a Brahmana, you are preaching and you are teaching, and he is a Kshatriya Brahmana, and the other person may be a Vaishya Brahmana, and the other person may be a Shudra Brahmana. Everybody has Brahminical qualities, but they can contribute in a different way. So if he's a Kshatriya Brahmana, then what he can probably do is, in India, there are a lot of places where we can use his skill. Say, for example, protecting the law. A lot of people spend 25, 30 years in India where they help ISKCON from being protected from different cases. So he can contribute as well. So Maharaj calls him as a Kshatriya Brahmana and other people are Vaishya Brahmana. So by default, we are all Brahmana. So we don't even have to think about that. Taking shelter of Krishna's lotus feet and always remembering that we are servant of the servant of the servant, that is more important. So anybody who's having a Vaishya Brahmana skills, yes, we can put them in the farm. He will better know how to run the farm. And anybody who is as a Shudra Brahmana, he can get employed and he can contribute Lakshmi. Anything is possible. So our understanding should be not that we are Brahmana or any different Varna. We should always think that we are a servant of the servant of the servant of the Lord. Next. Okay. I'll stop here. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki. Jai Gaura Premanande. Srila Prabhupada ki.